Please subscribe, like and activate the bell if you like the content to continue with more. Give your opinions and suggestions in the comments so that we can develop the channel. Thank you. Full stop. Casablanca or Casablanca in Spanish was called the Amazigh nose, that is, the hill is called abbreviated by the local name. Casa is the largest city in Morocco and its economic capital and one of the most largest and most important in Africa in economic and demographic terms. The city is located in the center of western Morocco, about 95 kilometers south of the administrative capital Rabat on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, with a population total of 3,359,818 people, according to the General Population and Housing Census for the year 2014, and 4,270,750 people in its total agglomerations, making it the most populated city in the kingdom. The Greater Casablanca region covers an area of 1,140.54 km raised to the power of 2. The urban area is 227.82 kilometers raised to the power of 2 compared to 18.8% at the beginning of the 1980s. Since the return to the principle of urban unity in 2002, the city has become composed of the district of the prefecture of Casablanca divided into 16 districts spread over 8 districts. On the other hand, it is the commune of Mashour Casablanca, where the royal palace is located. Despite the little-known history of its construction, some historians suggest that the city was built by the Zanata Berber tribe in the early 20th century, when it was known as Anfa, and its small port, which was considered a commercial station for boats coming from the Chaouia plain to procure barley and wheat. Then the city developed over the years to become the economic and commercial capital of the Kingdom of Morocco, the first city of Morocco, and the third in Africa in terms of population after Lagos and Cairo. Due to the architectural diversity it encountered during the 20th century, it was a contemporary destination for a generation of foreign architects who graduated from the École Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts in Paris. The city has retained its old urban heritage mixed between the old colonial style, with its low and regular buildings, and the modern style, with its tall and luxurious buildings, such as the shopping center with its businesses, its banks, its silver houses, its great hotels, and public parks. The city of Casablanca is the city of martyrs, having been destroyed by the Portuguese and bombarded by the French in 1907 during the Casablanca uprising, which caused thousands of victims. The Hassan I Mosque is the second largest mosque in Africa and its minaret is the second tallest minaret in the world. This mosque is a symbol of the city. The inhabitants of the town are called by the popular name Beidou or Kazo. The dominant interpretations on the origin of the city of Casablanca are based on a novel that historians have been used to exploiting widely since the beginning of the 20th century for them, like travelers, diplomats and sociologists of that time. Novel makes Casablanca a literal translation of the word Casablanca, a word used by Portuguese sailors during the 15th century AD to designate on the city, and in the same context, the narration adds that the presence of a white-colored house helps Portuguese sailors to locate Casablanca on this name. The story presents 2 facts, the first related to the passage of the Almoravids nasally after the Almoravids, and the second was mentioned by the Portuguese Akbaris when they wrote nose instead of nose, and this testimony shows that there was no familiarity of the Portuguese when they landed on the Moroccan Atlantic coast since the 15th century AD with the original name of the city. The Berbers of the Kingdom of Barglada established the city of Casablanca above in the year 768, and according to Zaini, born in 1734, the city was founded by the Berbers, where when the Zainis moved to Damesna and Tadla, they established Anfa in Damesna in the city of Day and Tadla. Anfi was famous for a time with its scholars, soldiers and flourishing trade. Anfi remained during the reign of the Myrinids a small town open to maritime trade with the exterior, in particular with the Spaniards and Portugal. Its inhabitants were sailors practicing piracy and attacking Portuguese ships in particular, which provoked the ire of the Portuguese, who organized an attack on the city and destroyed it completely in 1486. In 1515, the Portuguese tried to build a castle strong, but their defeat at the hands of the Myrinids caused them to abandon this. It seems that Anfa disappeared without leaving any trace other than the tomb of Sidi Oulal al-Kirawani, as described. Witness to a radiant civilization, Casablanca was destroyed by a major earthquake in 1755 known as the Lisbon earthquake. Thanks to the taxes imposed on the Chaouia tribes, Sultan Sidi Muhammad bin Abdullah was able to build a fortified castle for the stability of the soldiers, which later became the preferred destination of the Chaouia and Akala tribes. Around the year 1830, Trade in Casablanca with European countries began to develop, which flourished during the reign of the Alawite Sultan Hassan I, where the city became attracting many traders and craftsmen from many regions, especially from the cities of Fez and Marrakesh. Some French companies were able to strengthen their influence in Morocco, the most important of which is the French holding company, the Moroccan Company, which has become the control of large agricultural lands. After the protection in March 1912, the construction work of the port continues under the direction and the supervision of the Resident General, General Liotte, which constitutes an important turning point in the history of the city, since its establishment involves the development of Casablanca economically, socially and locally, to then become the largest urban center in Morocco. Civil engineer Henri Proust was commissioned to plan Casablanca as it developed as a colonial capital. A European city was built next to the Old City, which was founded by Mohammed I bin Abdullah in the 18th century, and it was called a new city. Rue Al-Mahada, Rue Mohammed V, now in view of Place de France, the Place des Nations Unies now in Casablanca, 1920. Clock Street leading from the harbor directly to the clock tower. The choice of Casablanca to host Morocco's largest port was no coincidence, but it was linked to several motivations, including the city's location in the heart of the rich agricultural regions of Chaouia and Akala, and in a place that facilitates the establishment of a network of roads and railways to transport cereals and citrus fruits, as well as phosphates from the Caribica mines, which began to be exploited in the early 20s of the previous century. Thus, Casablanca has become the link between the metropolis of France and Morocco. Through it, raw materials were exported and the surplus of French industrial production arrived to be distributed in Morocco. As for industrial activity, it was weak, concentrating on consumer industries such as textile, food industries and some chemical industries. Light, and all this to meet the basic needs of the elderly. This situation changed slightly during the Second World War, when certain owners of capital were forced to leave France and settle in Morocco to set up some chemical and mechanical industries in Casablanca in particular, but this did not prevent the city to continue to play the role of mediator that was determined for him in advance, and the proof of this is that Akbar institutions were banking and financial, such as the Union Bank of Paris and the Bank of Paris in the lowlands, who have invested in mining, transportation and consumer industries. Casablanca is an old city historically, but its role appeared during the 20th century, when it became an important economic center, and with the establishment of the Great Monument, the Hassan I Mosque, it became a spiritual and scientific radiation, not only at the national level, but also at the level of the Islamic world. Among the most important archaeological sites included in the city are, the site of Lia Sasfa, dating from 5 to 6 million years ago, the site of the people of Al-Ghulam dating from around 2,500,000 years ago, and in this site were found the remains of the animal Hipparion, which is the ancestor of the current horse. The Old Hamada sites include many sites, the most important of which is the Tuma I site, which testifies to the beginning of human settlement in the region around 1 million years ago. In World War II, U.S. President Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Churchill met in Casablanca in 1940. Philippe Pétain of France signed an armistice agreement with the Nazis, then ordered French battalions from the French colonial empire to defend French territory with all force. Operation Torch, which was launched on November 8, 1942, was an Anglo-American invasion of French-controlled lands in North Africa during the North African Campaign in World War II. Fadila and Asfi, American forces took the city of Casablanca from Vichy control when France surrendered on November 11, 1942, although the naval battle of Casablanca continued until American forces sank a German submarine named U-173 on November 16. Casablanca became the site of Nassr Air Base, an air base used by the Americans to equip all air force to fight on the European front during World War II, and the airport is now Mohammed V International Airport. A conference was held in Casablanca in January 1943 where British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt met to discuss the state of war. Free French generals Charles de Gaulle and Henri Jago attended the conference, but they did not participate in the military planning. The city of Casablanca represents the main area of the greater region of Casablanca and belongs to the geographical area of Basse Chaouia, bordered to the north by the Bilazar Plateau and to the south by the natural extension of the Chaouia, to the northwest by the Atlantic Ocean and to the east by the Ben Slimane Plateau. According to geographic coordinates, Casablanca is located at the intersection of longitude 7.30 degrees and 7.45 degrees west of Greenwich, and latitudes 33.30 degrees and 33.45 degrees north of the equator. It occupies a strategic position economically, distinct from the rest of the Moroccan cities. Please subscribe, like and activate the bell if you like the content to continue with more. Give your opinions and suggestions in the comments so that we can develop the channel. Thank you.